Let's jump right into this. Today, we're unpacking a seriously fascinating and honestly incredibly ambitious business prospectus from a company called OTTIMEDIA. Reading through this document, well, it literally feels like you're sitting in the room for a high-stakes startup pitch, one that's aiming to completely flip the out-of-home advertising world on its head. We're talking massive numbers, bold tech claims, and a timeline that is just super aggressive.
And the sheer audacity of their hook is kind of wild. They come right out of the gate promising euro millions in just a few weeks. Basically, an almost immediate return on invested capital. It's one of those opening lines designed to grab a potential investor by the lapels and just demand attention right from the very first sentence.
So to make sense of all these massive claims, we're going to break this pitch down into 5 main areas for this explainer. First, the transparent tech innovation. Second, the upfront business model. Third, pitching to tower owners. Fourth, exponential revenue projections. And fifth, the stakeholder ask.
All right, let's start with part 1, the transparent tech innovation.
Because, before you can make millions, you actually have to build something, right? Well, OTTIMEDIA is banking on these ultra-thin, massive LED video walls. From the outside, you get these huge, incredibly high-resolution digital ads that are totally visible even on the absolute sunniest days. But the real genius, the true selling point here, is the view from the inside. Since these screens are transparent, they supposedly let 70% of natural light right into the building. It's basically like wrapping a skyscraper in a billboard, but without plunging all the office workers inside into total darkness.
The prospectus points out that these screens can easily go up on 1 to 4 facades of tall buildings directly over the windows. But it's not just a standalone screen. It's pitched as this massive, smart digital network. And here is where it gets super interesting. They claim these screens are actually going to market themselves. Because they're equipped with onboard live cameras, literally anyone can hop online and see the screens operating in real time. OTTIMEDIA absolutely insists this feature will organically draw in heavy hitters like Google and Amazon, meaning they wouldn't even need a traditional sales team.
Moving right along to section 2, the upfront business model.
Now, this whole financial engine relies on a highly compressed timeline. Step 1 is pretty straightforward, just install the LED screens. But step 2, that's the linchpin. Advertisers are supposedly required to pay their full 1-year advertising fee entirely in advance, and specifically within just 7 days. Because of that massive immediate influx of cash, Step 3 claims that investors will see a 3 times return on their initial capital after just 2 to 4 weeks of operation. 2 to 4 weeks. Yeah, they definitely aren't shy about these projections. OTTIMEDIA heavily emphasizes that literally no other industry offers this kind of speed and scale of profit, stamping it right there in their pitch as the highest short-term profits ever. And they attribute all of that success entirely to that upfront payment system we just talked about.
Which brings us to section 3, pitching to tower owners.
To actually build this network, you obviously need landlords who are willing to let you cover their incredibly expensive real estate in giant screens. So how do they do that? OTTIMEDIA outlines this multi-tiered incentive package aimed squarely at building owners. Just imagine being a landlord and getting this offer. A €200,000 base rent per facade that automatically bumps up by 20% every single year, plus a 20% commission if you turn your own building tenants into advertisers, another €200,000 in free advertising for your own use, and the option to grab a 1% equity stake in the whole global operation. They're really trying to make this the ultimate offer you just can't refuse. Okay, let's look at section 4, exponential revenue projections. We've reached the most aggressive part of the whole prospectus. If you thought that timeline was fast, just look at the math they're doing for a single, top-tier location. They project pulling in between 6 million and 30 million euros in the very first year. How? Well, a minimum of 30 advertisers paying €250,000 each gets you to 6 million. On the high end, if they get 120 advertisers paying €500,000 each, boom, you hit that 30 million mark. And remember, that is just for one single location. Now, when you scale that single location math to a proposed global network of 10 to 30 facades across major cities worldwide, the numbers start getting truly astronomical. Applying their exact formula means year 1 revenues would absolutely rocket to a minimal of 180 million euros and potentially up to a staggering 900 million euros. And there's more. They don't stop at year 1. Since they plan to have these top locations fully booked,
They claim they can hike advertising rates by up to 100% every single year. Thanks to that compounding effect and some really aggressive networking, by year 5, this prospectus projects an almost unbelievable 8 billion euros in global sales.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the stakeholder ask.
With all these projected billions supposedly floating around, how exactly does an investor get a piece of the action? Well, OTTIMEDIA is asking for a very specific initial capital injection, somewhere between 6 million and 9 million euros. If you put in 6 million euros, that grants you a 15% equity stake, while bringing 9 million euros to the table buys you a solid 24% stake in the entire operation.
But to be fair, they aren't just asking for a blank check. They've mapped out a very strict step-by-step chronological roadmap. Phase 1 requires a 3 million euro tranche to actually purchase a factory. Then Phase 2 brings the investor out to Vienna to see a live LED installation working in person. Next step is Phase 3, which is the second 3 million euro tranche. Phase 4 is where things get really big, ordering a massive 2,000 square meter screen for a major metropolis like Mumbai or Delhi. And finally, the whole thing culminates in Phase 5, a massive presentation day launch event inviting 5,000 companies, which they say will expose the brand to an estimated 5 million people basically instantly. On top of all that, the pitch relies really heavily on a proposed legal structure they call a stakeholder agreement. And get this, they claim this specific agreement structure is actually used by large companies to eliminate taxes entirely. Plus, they state it will grant investors automatic co-ownership of the actual physical LED facilities around the world. So you're essentially layering hard physical asset ownership right on top of your corporate equity.
It is, without a doubt, a wildly ambitious pitch. As we step back and look at the staggering numbers we've explored in this explainer, you really have to weigh the practical, physical feasibility of this transparent screen technology against the sheer, almost unbelievable speed of their financial claims. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Does this upfront payment model truly hold the key to a massive revolution in out-of-home advertising? Or are these exponential promises simply a little too good to be true?